to our Wednesday night shiur. We are in the Yemei HaOmer. Last week we talked about Rabbi Akiva and his connection to the Sefirat HaOmer, and obviously Sefirat HaOmer is a very powerful time, as we explained, and we explained last week how just as the negative aspect was the fact that the students of Rabbi Akiva, these Tanaim, were not friendly with one another, they didn't respect one another, mikanterin one another. So too, it's a very auspicious time to work on that, and you could be very successful. But that's only one half of the Omer. The second part of the Omer, we find that not only did the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva pass away during this time, but also the remaining 5 students, the 5 students that he discovered afterwards, the greatest ones also passed away in the Sefirat HaOmer. For example, on the 14th of Iyar, which is Pesach Sheni, Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes is Yortzeit, which is the greatest student of Rabbi Akiva after he discovered the remaining 5. And then you also have Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Many people say that his Hilulah is on Lag BaOmer. It's very well celebrated holiday, and it's actually very interesting that we don't say Tachanun on Lag BaOmer. I mean, not saying Tachanun, which is Ana Hashem Ve'avor, is a very big deal, because it's a part of our tefillah. You can't just skip it. And the Chachamim enacted, the later Chachamim, not to say Tachanun on Lag BaOmer. It's a happy day. The death of a tzaddik, the discovery of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the Zohar HaKadosh, is a very happy time. It's a momentous thing.
So hold on, we get that information from the Zohar that he died on that day?
No. The information that we get from it, it's more of a Hasidic source, that this is his actual day of passing.
Mm-hmm.
There is no source that he passed away on Lag BaOmer from the works of the Ari itself. From the works of the Ari, it's more, there is a source that he finished one of his books on Lag BaOmer called the Idra Rabbah. Welcome. He finished one of his greatest books, Idra Rabbah on Lag BaOmer, so they call it Yom Hilulah. Okay, but anyways, it's known amongst the Jews, this is the day Rabbi Shimon passed away, even though there is no source for that unless it's only in the Hasidic books.
So is halacha not to?
It's halacha. You don't say Tachanun on Lag BaOmer. Everyone skips it. I mean, today, which is the 70th birthday of the state of Israel, some people say Tachanun, some people don't say Tachanun, and your Ovadia wouldn't say Tachanun. Some people say that was only because he was the Rishon LeZion and it was political. Whatever the case is, it doesn't make a difference. Most, even religious people, don't say Tachanun today. They don't say Hallel. They don't say Hallel. Those are only the Zionists. The religious Zionists say Hallel today. We don't say Hallel, but we skip Tachanun. That's what Ovadia wrote himself. So some say, some don't. But Lag BaOmer, everyone skips Tachanun. It's a happy day. It's also a very good time to read the Zohar HaKadosh. It's written inside the Zohar, Beda Yifkun Yisrael Min Galuta Barachamei. The Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is like mitnabeh. Mitnabeh means he prophesies that with this book, by learning this book of mine, the Jews will leave the last exile with mercy. They won't suffer like in the other exiles. Story of Purim, the Egyptian, the destruction of the 2 Beit HaMikdashes. And that's what I want to touch on today. This aspect over here, because not only is Lag BaOmer the Yortzeit of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, but this past Sunday, the 30th of Nisan, was the Yortzeit of the man that was supposed to be Mashiach, Rabbi Chaim Vital. He was supposed to be Mashiach. In fact, I'm gonna read from his personal diary today. This is his personal diary I have in front of me right now. It's called Sefer HaChezionot, the book of seeings. This is like visions he had, dreams he had, people's dreams that they had about him, his personal life when he met. This is the source of the Ari HaKadosh's life and his life. This is the most authentic source right here. This book in front of me right now. It's an amazing reading. It gives you immense yirat shamayim. And the reason we're reading this book, not only because this past Sunday was his Yortzeit, the 30th of Nisan. He passed away Rosh Chodesh Iyar, but also because we see a recurring theme in his book, a recurring theme. You see, the Ari HaKadosh passed away at the age of 35, 36. He was a very young man, and all of his teachings that he taught Rav Chaim Vital was in about a year and 7-8 months. That's it. Something that takes a lifetime to learn, he was able to teach him in a year and almost 2 years. And Rav Chaim Vital himself, he lived till the age of 77. And we see a very interesting thing in his life that, and we're not going to go through the whole book, obviously, it's pretty thick, but a very interesting thing that every time he was very obsessed with one thing in his life. You see like a kind of obsession he had. He always wanted to know what his soul was made out of. What his soul was made out of. Just like our bodies are made out of fire, wind, water, and earth, right? The four elements. So too our souls are made out of spiritual elements. And if a person could figure out what elements his soul is made out of, he could unlock the secret to his potential and reach very big heights. And he was obsessed his whole life to find out, we call it in Kabbalah, what was his root soul. He wanted to know who he came from, what was he made out of. Even though the Ari told him, he kept on asking the same questions. It went so far that he used to go to people called Lachashim. You know what Lachashim is? Maybe some old Bukharian people know what this is. People used to go to special women. These women would, they would take oil. You would ask your question in silence, like in a very low voice on the oil. And this lady would say kind of weird words and was able to read the answer in the oil. It's called Lachashish Shemen. He used to go to these kind of people. And we also...
against the rules?
It's not against the rules. Because he was not... This is not about the Zara. It's kind of like Chokhmat HaGoyim, And not only that, he would also go to people who were able to bring down demonic souls. Demonic beings. Put them inside like a glass wine bottle. And they used to speak to him from inside and used to ask them questions. Who am I? What am I supposed to do in this world? What is the point of my being? This is Rav Chaim Vital. The Ari passed away already. When the Ari was alive, there was no point. He had a living Navi standing in front of him. You know what I'm saying? After the Ari passed away, another very interesting thing, when the Ari passed away, for 20 years, the book it says over here, the Ari used to come to him every night and continue to teach him Torah. For 20 years, every single day. But the recurring theme inside this book, Rav Chaim Vital was obsessed to know what was his root soul. He wanted to know why he came into this world. And number 3, we always find the same thing they answer him. You came to this world to do one thing, to preach to the people, to be Choser B'Tshuva. Until you're not going to do this, even if they won't listen to you, until you're not going to give drashot, speeches, to keep on doing tshuva, Mashiach will not come. And we see many times he dreams of Mashiach. He was obsessed with Mashiach. And we also find inside this book that the Ari told him that he was Mashiach ben Yosef. He was supposed to be Mashiach ben Yosef. And it's very interesting because the legends from the Gemara and from the Midrashim paint Mashiach ben Yosef as some general on a horse with a spear. Not with a spear. In our generation it would be with one of those huge guns, machine guns, and he's going to fight the wars of Hashem. And we see that's not the case. This is not the real job of Mashiach ben Yosef. Mashiach ben Yosef is supposed to make the Jews do teshuvah. He's supposed to keep on, even if they won't listen to him, just do teshuvah. And the one thing that Ari kept on telling him after he passed away, when he used to come into him in his dream, he kept on telling him, tell the Jews that the faster they do teshuvah, the faster they listen to you, the faster Mashiach will be revealed. And many times he sees Mashiach in his dream, and Mashiach, Ben David obviously, keeps on coming to him and tells him, I can't wait to meet you. I'm coming from very far away, I'm going to bring 10 Shvatim with me, please do your job, I really want to meet you. But of course he wasn't successful in his job, and we see actually that his biggest nemesis was not the secular Jews. The secular Jews were not his enemy. I mean, they would listen to him. His biggest enemy was the chief rabbi of Damascus. I'm not going to say his name because of the kavod, but his name is written here one time, then they erase his name. They keep on erasing. He erases the name himself from his diary. This rabbi kept on painting him as a fanatic, as a nutcase, as a crazy guy, as a Mashiach crazy guy. Like, we're always talking about Mashiach. Mashiach is not coming. This is only the year 5,350. You have till the year 6,000. Stop talking about it. You're making people crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. And then it all boils down to this one point where the Chaim Vital gets so sick of this rabbi, who was the chief judge of Syria, that he swears that he's not going to speak to the people anymore. Like, he doesn't need this anymore. He's sick of his life. And he ends up stopping to teach. Not only that,
he lived in Syria at the time.
At that time he lived in Syria. That's a story with itself, how he went to Syria. You understand? Because the Ari told him specifically, you have to live in Yerushalayim. Because the Pirkei Avot says that every person in this world has a time. You have a time. What does that mean, you have a time? There's a time in a month that you're always successful. If you pay attention, there's a certain day in the month where you're always successful. And there's a certain day in the week that you're always successful. The Ari tells him that your day is like a Monday. I forgot what day it was. Like, your day is Monday. On Monday, whatever you do, you're always going to be successful.
Is it the day that they were born?
What? No, it's not the day that you're born. It's a day that you could only find out once you know what your root soul is. What's the spiritual elements of your neshama. And that's why he was very obsessed of finding that out. Even though he knew what the Ari told him, he wanted to know more and more and more and more. But very interestingly, his other biggest nemesis in his life was his first wife. He was married twice. His first wife was not the nicest woman. And she, before he met the Ari, she caused him to stop to learn Torah for 2 years. She told him, I don't want you to learn Torah, I want you to bring Parnassah home. And he went to learn, he was a very smart man, he went to learn the study of alchemy. Alchemia. That's to turn elements into different elements. And he was successful. He didn't learn Torah for 2 years.
He was successful?
He was very successful. I don't know exactly what he used to do, but he was very successful. And we see back in those times there were very crazy things, especially in Tzefat. After Chaim Vital runs away to Damascus, there was an Ashkenazi guy who left everything in Poland and came to live in Tzefat. His name is R.Shalom. And we have from him a testimony on a Igeret. Till today we have this Igeret. He writes what was the life like in Tzfat. And the things he writes over there, it was like they used to live in the time of Mashiach. They used to wake up everybody at Nitz. The whole town, there was like 1,000 families. They all used to learn Torah. Together. Right after Tefillah, they all used to learn Torah till 1 o'clock in the day. Then they used to go at midday, work for 3 hours. And they said they were such bracha, they didn't even have to work for 3 hours. In that one couple of hours they used to work, they used to have so much bracha and shefa and v'atzlacha, and nobody used to fight with each other in Tzefat. Everybody used to love each other. There was Gidolei Olam, Rabbi Joseph Karo was alive, the writer of the Shulchan Aruch. And we're also going to see, B'ezrat Hashem, what was the relationship between Rav Chaim Vital and Rabbi Yosef Karo. Because many people don't know this, that Rabbi Yosef Karo, the great Maran, Shulchan Aruch, he used to have something called a Magid come to him and teach him Torah. Secrets of Torah. It's a special angel that's created from your own Torah. When you learn Torah, the words that come out of your mouth creates angels. Okay? So these angels, if you have a zechut, could come back to you and teach you Torah. So Rabbi Yosef Karo has a book of all the teaching these angels taught him. It's called Magid Mesharim. In fact, the only source to what the rabbi does every Erev Rosh Chodesh, he goes to the Lubavitcher Rebbe's kever and he does hakafot, right? When we go to Israel, to the graves, when we went to Ukraine, what we do around the kever, hakafot. The only source to these hakafot is not the Ari HaKadosh, it's not Rav Chaim Vital. It comes from the Magid's teachings to Rabbi Yosef Karo.
What does that do by doing hakafot? What exactly?
The hakafot, every person in his body, he has an or pinimi, your inner soul, and then you have your outer soul. Okay? That outer soul is called the or makif. So too, when a person is makif, when he goes around something, it represents his outer neshama, and that outer neshama has a very interesting property. It has the ability to destroy and to make far all evil spirits. Anything negative that's supposed to come to you, it has the power to push them away. So when we go to the kever of a tzaddik, the Magid tells Rabbi Yosef Karo, until you don't do hakafot, don't pray. Why? Inside the kever, there's a lot of evil spirits. A lot of nishamot that are in kapakela, a lot of people who used to do a lot of averot, and they don't let your tefillah go up, even though you're praying by the tzaddik. So what should you do first? First you do hakafot, you separate them, you send them away, and then you could pray to Hashem. Because without the hakafot, the prayers don't work. And in fact, Rabbi Yosef Karo, once they went on Sukkot to do hakafot in the kever of one of the Tanaim in Tzfat, they did hakafot with so much power, chovat. It started to rain in the middle of Sukkot. And Rabbi Yosef Karo was very upset. Why? Because if it rains on Sukkot, it's a bad sign. So the Magid comes back and tells them, it's not because Hashem is angry at you that the rain came. It's because you guys prayed so much, you did so many hakafot, you caused it to rain in Eretz Yisrael. That's how much power there was. So in Tzfat, there was a lot of Kiddushim at that time. Mari Beirav. And very interestingly, Rabbi Yosef Karo himself was crazy about Mashiach. If you read Magid Mesharim, a recurring theme in the whole book is Mashiach. That time in Tzfat, there was a big craze for Mashiach. With the resurgence of Kabbalah, the theme of Mashiach came very, very strong. With the Ari, with Rabbi Joseph Karo. Rabbi Joseph Karo was the student of the Mahari Beirav, one of the great luminaries of the generation. You can call him the Gadol Ador of the world. He was his student. And in that time, that was right at the end, at the start of the Spanish Inquisition. And the Jews, a lot of Jews were Anusim, Conversos, Moranos. They came to Eretz Israel, they were running away from the church. When they were running away from the church, they had to act as Jews at home, but outside, they used to act as what? Goyim. They used to go to church, used to wear crosses, and slowly by slowly, they forgot the Torah. They stopped keeping Nidah, they stopped keeping Shabbat, and all these things are karet. Now the halacha is, if a person's chayav karet, he could also get lashes. Lashes is malkut. Let's say eat non-kosher food, you need malkut, right? So they came to Rabbi Joseph Karo, to Tzfat, and they asked him, could you make a beit din and give us lashes and make us free from all of our punishments in Shamayim? And you're not allowed to administer lashes in our times. Why? There's no Sanhedrin. Only the Sanhedrin could do that. Only the Sanhedrin could appoint judges. There were no judges. Why? From the time of the Gemara, it ended. The smicha ended. So what did the rabbis in Tzfat try to do? There's a machloket. How is the Sanhedrin going to reconvene when Mashiach comes? Because for Mashiach to be Mashiach, who has to name him Mashiach? You think the Sanhedrin? He can't just come to congregation Lashem and everybody's over here waiting for Mashiach and say, oh, this is Mashiach, he's going to do a couple of miracles, this is Mashiach. It doesn't work like that. Mashiach has to come first to the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin has to tell him, we appoint you as the king. Because who anoints the king? The Sanhedrin appoint the king. Now there's a problem. How are you going to make a Jewish judge? You need somebody who has the power to give you smicha. How are you going to make the judges? There's nobody to make them judges. You could be the smartest guy in the world. There's nobody to make you a judge, a dayan, a sanhedrin, a zaken. So there's a machloket. Some say that Eliyahu Navi is going to come, and since he never died, technically speaking, he has the power, since he's technically speaking one of the Sanhedrin, he's going to make one rabbi the chief, and he's going to give smicha to the rest of them. That's the Ramban's point of view. That's his shita. That Eliyahu Navi is going to come, and he's going to make the Sanhedrin, because he has the power, he's still alive. There is another shita, the Rambam's shita. The Rambam says if all the rabbis in Eretz Yisrael, specifically in Eretz Yisrael, if they all agree to remake the Sanhedrin, they have the power, all the rabbis together, to make one rabbi the chief, Sanhedrin, and he's going to make the rest of them Sanhedrin. You see what I'm saying? So from the people come the power. And that's going to go back to the people, to the Sanhedrin. That's the Rambam's point of view, Maimonides. So there was a big fight in Israel at that time. This is not written in the books. This is something you have to know history for. So the history says there was a big fight between the rabbis of Tzfat and the rabbis of Yerushalayim. The rabbis of Tzfat said the halacha is like who? The Rambam. Rambam.
Which is
Maimonides.
Which means
that means the power comes from the people.
Yeah.
The rabbis of Yerushalayim said no, just the opposite. The halacha is like who? The Ramban. Eliyahu Navi first has to come. So what happened? The rabbis of Tzfat didn't listen to the rabbis of Yerushalayim.
But you know, it seems like the rabbis of the Yerushalayim didn't make a name for themselves.
They made a bad name?
They didn't make a bad name, but they didn't make a name at all. All the famous people were in Tzfat.
Oh, there was one big rabbi in Yerushalayim, the Mahar al-Bach. He was very big, he's one of the biggest poskim. He went against Rabbi Joseph Karo and the Mahari Beirav with all of his koach. He said, you guys can't do this. You guys are nuts. You can't bring Mashiach like this, he said. And they were just the opposite. He said, we're going to bring Mashiach like this. And we're going to save these Maranos. We're going to give them lashes, we're going to save them from Mitab B'dei Shamayim. And they said, no, you cannot do that. There was a big fight. The rabbis of Tzfat didn't listen to them. Didn't listen. And 200 rabbis got together of Tzfat. Not 200 rabbis. 200 Gedolei Olam got together. And they made the Mahari Beirav the head of the Sanhedrin.
Rabbi Joseph Karo's read.
Yes. And the Mahari Beirav gave smicha to Rabbi Joseph Karo. And Rabbi Joseph Karo gave smicha to the Alshich, Maharam Alshich, And the Maharam Al-Sheikh eventually gives smicha to Rav Chaim Vital. And who's Rav Chaim Vital supposed to be? Mashiach. But it didn't end up working, and we're going to see why not. B'ezrat Hashem, if we're going to get to it. I doubt it, but the point is the Yirat Shamayim in the story, because at the Omer time, as we're saying, it's all about Torah Tasot. The Baba Sali would stop learning halacha during this time. He would just learn the secrets of the Torah. Because the Sifrat Omer is a very auspicious time to go very high in the Torah, especially the third week of Sifrat Omer, which is our week right now. We're in the week of Tiferet. Tiferet is beauty. Tiferet also represents the Torah. Tiferet represents your tefillin. Yesterday, I wanted to send to the chat, yesterday was Tiferet Shabbat Tiferet. It was a very auspicious time to pray after the Sifrat Omer that you should be able to learn Torah your whole life. The Torah shall never leave you and your descendants. But for some reason, I forgot to do it at the end.
You were busy learning Torah.
Yeah, I was busy learning Torah myself. And during this whole week, until the end of Shabbat, it's a very, very special time to pray that you and your children, Torah will never leave your descendants. Very, very important time to pray, because Tiferet represents Torah, it represents the body. Okay? That's the main thing. In your body, what's the biggest part? This part right here, right? The chest, the stomach, that's Tiferet. Okay? That's the main thing. And that's where the Torah comes from. That's Moshe Rabbeinu's Sfira, right? Abraham, Yitzhak, Moshe. Moshe is represented by the Tiferet. Okay? So, to backtrack a bit.
Tiferet is number 3.
Yeah, it's the third week right now.
Yaakov, right?
It's Yaakov, but Moshe Rabbeinu is the inner life of Yaakov. He's the neshama of Yaakov. He's the daf which goes inside the Tiferet. Now, to give you guys a small introduction, another introduction, who was Rav Chaim Vital and why is he important? Rav Chaim Vital, as we said, besides for getting smicha from the Maharam Al-Sheikh, who got smicha from the Mahari Karo, or Joseph Karo, who got smicha from the Mahari Beira, who got smicha from 200 rabbis in Tzfat. That's why we call them Maran. What does Maran mean? Matayim Rabbanim Nismechu. They had smicha from 200 rabbis. That's what the word Maran means. Okay? So when you do a halacha in the Shulchan Aruch, it's like you're following 200 rabbis. And not like I said, rabbis who talking about Chachamim.
They call also Rabbi Ovadia Yosef.
So nowadays we say Maran to every. Not I'm saying Rabbi Ovadia is everybody, but everybody's became a Maran. Anybody, Shalita, of course. That was before Shalita. So today we call it Maran. Rabbi Ovadia was really Maran. Rabbi Ovadia was the chief rabbi of the Sfaradim, but today it became a term of respect. We call them Maran. Maran this, Maran that, Hagaon, Harav, Hagaon, Harav. But this is, I'm talking about, the Maran is Rabbi Joseph Karo. Okay?
The originals.
Yeah, these are the originals in Tzfat. Now what happens is, in the year 5301, it's about 476 years ago, there was a man called Yosef Calabris. Why was he called Yosef Calabris? Because he lived in Calabria, in Italy. But the family's real name was Vital. And he was told, it says over here, by a Chacham Gadol named Rav Chaim Ashkenazi. Some rabbi came to his house one day. Can I come in? Yes, of course. Yakta choy, yakta donak, yakta this, yakta that. Stol akroy. Hachnasat orchi. Come inside, enjoy yourself. And this rabbi's name was Rav Chaim Ashkenazi. We don't know if he's related to the Ari, because the Ari's last name was also Ashkenazi. The Amarlo, and he told him, Da, you should know. Look what kind of people there were back then. Saying Nivu'ah, Ruach HaKodesh, right and left. Chaval, we're not living in those shines. Ki atid ata lelech le'eretz Yisrael. You're not going to live forever in Italy. Very soon, in the near future, your switch in your head is going to go, ping, and you're going to move to Israel. And you're going to live over there, v'sham yivadled lecha ben, and you're going to have a son. V'karata shemo Chaim, and you're going to name him Chaim. This rabbi, what's his name? Rav Chaim Ashkenazi. So he's telling Rabbi Yosef Vital, very soon you're going to move to Israel, and you're going to have a son. And you're going to name the son Chaim after me. Where does he get the guts? Today, if a person has a baby boy, alright, all the avlot, you're going to name him after me, you're going to name him after him, you're going to name him after him. Back then, that's not the way they did it. They used to name him after big tzaddikim. V'hu yiyeh chacham gadol. He's going to be such a smart man. Shelo yeh bedoro kamo. There won't be a man in his generation that will equal his chokhmah. Let's put this in perspective. He lived in the time of the Baal Shulchan Aruch. He was his Rebbe's Rebbe. And he said that in his time, there will be nobody like him. V'achar shtei shanim, and 2 years later, my father moved to Israel, and I was born in the year 5303, and they called me what? Chaim. They called me Chaim. Okay? In the year, now just to give you just who was Rabbi Yosef Vital, what zchut did he have? Because you don't just have a child like that without any zechut, right? You have to have some kind of zechut. Rabbi Yosef Vital, I'm going to read you what the Ari told Rav Chaim Vital about his father. He says his soul was the reincarnation of Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes. You know what I'm saying? He was a Tana. Could you imagine if you learn a little shar, you believe in gates of reincarnation? You could be a regular guy, just walking in the street. You could be a spark of a Tana. You don't know that. And we also see a very interesting recurring theme over here, that Rav Chaim Vital, all of his life, puts himself down. I'm this, I'm nothing, I'm not worthy of having this mantle of Mashiach ben Yosef, of making people choser b'tshuva. And always the Ari tells him, if you would know what kind of soul you have, you would grow wings and you would fly in the air. There's no kind of thing in the Torah to put yourself down, to not have self-esteem, to say I'm a Rasha, to say I'm down, I'm nothing, I'm this and that. The whole point of the Torah is just the opposite, to always bring yourself up, to uplift yourself, to know that you're great, to know that you have a job. Like Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, if you learned a lot of Torah, don't think you're some big shot. This is what you were created for. And you were created for to serve your Creator. Could you imagine such a thing? You could be a Tana. You don't know that. You could be a... Rav Yosef Vital, you think he dreamt in a million years he was Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes? You think he ever thought of that? No way. He thought he was nobody.
But probably Ari Kadosh told him that, no?
No. This is before.
Oh.
And even if he told him that, so what? Does it change the fact that he was Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes?
It's a big school.
Not a big schut. Do you know the Gemara says that when Rabbi Akiva used to teach after the 24,000 students passed away, the 5 students were sitting around him, and he used to put them in order of greatness. Like, that's how he used to put them. So who was always the first one sitting next to him? Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes. Right after that was who? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And one time, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, his face gets red. Because he's embarrassed, because he thought he was the greatest. And Rabbi Akiva whispers to him in the ear, says, Shimon, it's enough that me and your Creator know how great you are. You stay second. Nobody has to know your greatness. Let Rabbi Meir stay first. He told him like that, and he calmed down. You understand? It's not ga'ava. It's knowing your worth. It's self-esteem. And I say this to all my students. This is a recurring problem with all kids in our generation. No self-esteem. Kids don't have they don't think of themselves.
Too much.
And then there are some kids who have too much. But some kids, the kids I work with, no self-esteem. They put themselves down. A lot of it because they're bullied a lot. A lot of these kids are bullied, but still, a Rebbe's job is to always uplift his student. Rabbi Akiva didn't have to tell Rabbi Shimon that. Only me and your Creator know your worth. Imagine Rabbi Akiva tells you something like that. Rabbi Shimon's neshama probably almost came out from joy. You understand? And one time, Rav Chaim Vital had the same problem. He had the same, always used to put himself down. And the Ari told him, if you were born in the time of the Tanaim, your soul would be a chidush. You know what a chidush is? You would be, they would make a king out of you. You would be king of all Tanaim. And if you were born in the time of the Nevi'im, you would be the greatest Navi, he told him. Always used to bring him up. Because you can't learn Torah from depression. You have to learn Torah from simcha. Putting yourself down in Torah doesn't go together. You always have to learn Torah from happiness. From happiness, not from sadness. Okay? So he says over here that Rav Yosef Vital was a spark of Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes, and the soul of another Tana, Rabbi Yeshvev HaSofer, which was one of the 10 martyrs, was inside of him too. Why is that important? So I'm going to tell you guys a little secret. If you guys want to know a little bit about who you were in the last reincarnation, you should know this. Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes and Rabbi Yeshvev HaSofer both had a job. What were their jobs? What did they used to work as? Huh?
Sofer.
They were sofers. They were lavlar. In the language of the Mishnah, it's called a lavlag. What's a lavlag? It's a feather. They used to write with a feather, right? They were both sofrim. It says Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes made the most kosher Torah in the world. That's how kind of sofer he was. Not only that, the halacha is when you write, first you have to read the letter or the word or look from a Sefer Torah or a Megillah and then write. You can't write from memory. You're not allowed to. One time, you're gonna make a mistake. One time, Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes he went to somewhere in Asia. Some say he went to Bukhara. The place that he says over there, it sounds like far out from Afghanistan. He went over there. There were Jews living over there, and they had no Megillah for Purim. So now he wants to write for them a Megillah. There's a problem. He has to write the Megillah from a Megillah, but there was no Megillah over there. How is he going to write the Megillah? So from memory, he was saying the letters. Right? Vayehi, Vav, he was writing it. From memory, the whole Megillah, and he wrote him a Megillah.
The whole
Huh? The whole thing. That's what kind of tzaddik he was. That's what kind of mind he was. He was a genius. Now Rabbi Meir Baal, and also Rabbi Yeshua Sofer was also a sofer. He was a sofer of the Beit Din. And guess what? What was Rabbi Yosef Vital's job? Sofer. He was a sofer. And he never knew how come he loved to write so much. All he wants to do is write. Write. And the reason was because in his last reincarnation, who was he? He was a sofer. So we see from here one thing, that if you want to know a bit of who you were in the last reincarnation, just look who you are right now. The stuff that you like to do, the kind of business or work that you like to do, that's exactly what you used to do back then. You have a certain push towards the stuff you like to do. Person who likes to learn Torah, he's in kollel all day, that's probably what he did in the last Gilgul. He was in kollel. A person who was a rabbi was probably a rabbi in the last Gilgul. A person who was a barber probably was a barber in the last Gilgul. What can you do? Okay, there's nothing wrong with it. You guys are both barbers. You understand? Now, I don't know if there were any Tanaim that were barbers, so I think you might lose on that perspective, but the point is that a person has a very strong pull to the things that he did in the last Gilgul. And the same thing with the people you marry. The Ari Kadosh teaches us that the woman that you marry is very highly probable the woman that you married in the last reincarnation. If you didn't lose her by doing an Avera, that is. You understand? And the woman that you married in that reincarnation is the woman that you probably married in the previous. That means you're stuck with her forever. You just don't know it. You understand? Forever and ever and ever. And when you get up in Tchiyat HaMetim, guess who you're getting up with? You're getting up with her. You understand? That's why the minhag is to bury husband and wife next to each other. Then what happened? They started burying men together and women. Why? All of his life he's arguing with her. So when he wakes up in Tchiyat HaMetim, he's going to see her face. He's going to want to go back inside the grave. So therefore they said the woman goes to the next side and the men go to the next side. You understand? But the point is that the guy only has Tchiyat HaMetim b'zchut his wife. In fact, the Ari Kadosh says, let's say Chas v'Shalom, a person, I don't like to say the D word, you guys know what I mean. He writes her a get and he sends her salama. And then he doesn't have children. Now, one of the conditions of getting up to Tchiyat HaMetim, you have to have a boy and a girl, or you have to try your best. You have to try your best. Huh? There's one of the conditions. You have to have a boy, at least one boy and one girl, and those two kids have to have at least one child.
So the mitzvah is complete with the kids.
Only with the kids. Oh, so Rabbi Shimon Agassi in Shari Gulim says, let's say a guy, he tried all of his life. Lo istayam milta. He couldn't live with her, this, that, and he ended up writing her a get, and he never got remarried, never had kids.
Lubavitch didn't have kids.
Oh, so I'm going to explain how these... First of all, Lubavitch is not an example. Why? The Rabbi Shimon Agassi in Shari Gulim writes Mifurash. A rabbi, his Torah, his Chidushim are his kids. He gets up with his Torah.
And his students.
Man, his students especially. Students, what did the Rabbi Akiva say? Is like your kids, right? We learned that last week.
They had kids?
Who?
Rabbi Akiva.
Rabbi Akiva had 3 sons, 2 of them died.
What about other ones?
The other son that he had was
No,
Rabbi...
general. Big rabbis.
Yeah, many of them had kids, many also didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, for example, there was one rabbi, remind me what I was talking about. His name was Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, he was not only the rain guy, he was the miracle, he was the chassid of the generation. That means you need a problem, who was the Baba you would go to? He was the Baba Sali of that generation. And which generation am I talking about? Rabban Gamliel, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. One time, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's son gets very sick, and he's the chief rabbi of all of Israel. His student is Rabbi Eliezer Agadol, the Rebbe of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was the student of Hillel HaZaken, who the Gemara says in Masechet Sukkah, 40 of them had the power to have Nivuah like Moshe Rabbeinu, 40 of them had the power to have Nivuah like Yoshua ben Nun, and another 40 had the power to have both. This is Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Could you imagine? And once his son gets very sick, he's praying for him, doesn't go up, his tefillah. So who does he call? He calls the Baba, Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, the rain guy. He calls him to his house, he prays. The boy gets up, he gets healed. So they ask Rabbi, how could he get answered and you not? You're the chief of chiefs. If it wasn't Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, you would have no Mashiach today. He saved the line of Mashiach. He saved the Beit HaMikdash. He saved the Chachamim. He saved Rabbi Tzadok. He said, I'll tell you why. He said, some people, when they pray to Hashem, they're like a son. When the son goes into the palace, the father doesn't want to let him out. Why? Till his son visits him once in a blue moon. You come, stay with Abba, have a little choy. How was your day? How was this, that? So you're praying. Not answer. Hashem wants your prayers. Some people, they pray to Hashem, they're like a servant. They're like a slave. You come inside, what do you want? ABC, take it and go. That's who Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa is, that's who I am. You understand? So therefore, it's not always a big deal if your prayers get answered and his prayers don't get answered. You understand what I'm saying? It's not always better, it doesn't mean you have a higher soul when your prayers get answered. It could be just the opposite. That your soul is actually, that person's soul is a lower level. Okay? So back to what we were saying.
Kids.
So Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, did you know that he didn't have kids in his previous reincarnation? The Ari says the reason why he was very poor, because he never had any children. On purpose. So therefore when he came back, his tikkun was he had to have kids and he lived a very poor life. Extremely poor life. To the point where he used to eat a cup of carobs a week. Carobs, you know what? You ever eat carobs? Your teeth are gonna break. They're very hard. A cup of carobs was his old. And the Gemara says the whole world used to eat food because of who? Because of him. And all he had from Shabbat to Shabbat was a cup of carobs. So the Ari HaKadosh says having children is a precursor to Tchiyat HaMetim. You don't have kids. At least one boy and one girl, it's very tough to get up. Huh?
What did you mean by on purpose he didn't have kids? He didn't want kids?
He just wanted to learn Torah his whole life. He doesn't want kids. He doesn't want to deal with them. He just wanted to learn Torah. So, but when a person does that, the Ari says he's machriv the kav. There's a certain thing in Shamayim, it's called the kav. Kav means like a bucket. It's where your bracha is, your parnasah is. When a person doesn't want to have kids, person thinks that I'm saving money. The Ari says just the opposite. By not having kids, you're destroying that kav. So you think you're saving money in this reincarnation. You're coming back, mister, and when you're going to come back, I want to see how much money you're going to save. So Rabbi Yochanan was very poor because of that.
So the
Okay?
the guy who tries and
So the guy
how
who,
he saves.
so a person, let's say, who tries to have kids, or he got married, he got married, but he had a D word, right? What happened to him? Could he get up in Tchiyat HaMetim? Rabbi Shimon Agassi says yes. How? No. Even if he didn't keep his breed. I mean, as long as he was done with the Goya, right? Because the Zohar says a person who's with the Goya, Ba'al Bat El Nechar. It's like doing Avodah Zarah. A person who gets married, he gets up in Tchiyat HaMetim with the spirit, his part of his neshama that he left inside his ex-wife. Sounds crazy?
Yeah. Say that again.
Every time a person gets married, when the first time a man was with his wife, when he does his conjugal relations, his biyah, at that moment the Ari says he completes her neshama. How does he do that? By giving a piece of his neshama. Okay, that's how he completes her. Now that piece is not really hers. Who's it really?
Yours.
It's his. Now when a person gives a get, what is he doing basically? A get is also called Sefer Kritut. What's Sefer Kritut? The book of ripping. What is it rip? What are you ripping? Oh, you're ripping your neshama away from her. But still there's a little piece inside of her. Okay, there's a little piece inside of her.
Of me.
Of her. Of you inside her.
Yeah.
Yes, of you inside her. And then when the guy passes away, if he really tried his best to do his stuff, he's going to get up in Tchiat Metim with that neshama that you left inside of her. That was originally what? His. Okay? But it's not your whole neshama, it's only that part that you left inside of her. Okay? That's why it's also very dangerous, according to Kabbalah, to marry a widow. Because when you marry a widow, you're getting a full package. You're getting her and also her ex-husband. Because he never gave a get, right? He never gave a get, so he's really inside of her. That's why there's a tikkun to give a guy when he marries a widow. There's a tikkun you do for him so that her ex-husband doesn't come back and get revenge. And there are many stories like people who died after they marry widows. The Rashash wouldn't like to make a kiddushin ceremony for a man marrying a widow. He said it was dangerous. The guy might have sakanat nefashot. That's why, interestingly, there is a halacha, a woman who her husband died once, and then she got married again, and her husband died again. Is she allowed to get married a third time? Halachically speaking, she cannot already get married a third time. Why? She's called katlanit. What's katlanit? She's a killer.
Dangerous to society.
Yeah, she's dangerous for society.
But Rabbi,
Yes, it's halacha. Siman tet. And Evanai isn't.
but Rabbi Joseph dedicated his good part of his life freeing this kind of women, the
Yeah,
soldiers. Agunot, yeah.
It's not asur to marry them. It's just dangerous to marry them. Okay? Now, I don't know if any widows are watching this. I don't know if they will, but I'm not against widows. Okay?
Do not coming after it.
Thank you. So back to what we were saying, right? So Rabbi Yosef Vital, we will go back to Rabbi Chaim Vital for a second. He was the neshama of Rabbi Meir Balanes. Okay? He was neshama of Rabbi Meir Balanes and also Rabbi Shimon. That's why he was a sofer. Just like he was a sofer in the last reincarnation, he was a sofer in this reincarnation. We explained that any time you have a longing for something in this world, in this reincarnation, it's because you liked it in the last reincarnation. Okay? So the people you meet, the woman you marry, the kids you bring down inside this world, you all had a direct connection with them. Now sometimes the father turns into the son. Like in the case of Yibum. In Yibum, the father turns into the son. In a sense, so there could be very many weird combinations. Right? But in the Olam HaNeshamot, there's no such thing as father and son. Okay? Now, why is this important? I'm going to read you something over here. You guys are going to say, this is unbelievable. In the year Shin Yud Zayin, how old is Rav Chaim Vital over here? If he was born in the year 5303, and the year right now is 5317. How old was he?
15.
He's 15 years old. What's a 15-year-old? It's a teenager. What is he thinking of all day? Girls and how to look good. Right? Rabbi Joseph Karo, the writer of the Shulchan Aruch, Maran, sends a message to Rav Moshe Alshich, his student.
At 15, he really had a student?
No, Rav Yosef Karo. This is when Rav Chaim Vital was 15.
Oh, okay.
Rav Yosef Karo sends a message to his Rebbe, Rav Moshe Alshich. Not Rav Yosef Karo's Rebbe, Rav Chaim Vital's Rebbe, Rav Moshe Alshich. You guys might know the Alshich, but the Alshich is one of the famous commentaries on the Torah. One of the famous commentaries in the Torah. So he sends a message to Rav Moshe Alshich in the name of the Magid. Who was the Magid again? That was that angel who teaches him Torah, Rav Yosef Karo. And he tells him like this, that the angel told him to tell you, Sheyizaher, that you should be very careful. You have a student, he's a special neshama. Sheyizaher me'od lelamedeni bechol yicholto. Be very careful to teach that boy inside your class, Chaim. Pay special attention to him. He's going to be very, very famous one day. Ki ani hu ha'atid, I am the future of the Jews. Li sha'er acharav bedor. After Rav Yosef Karo passes away, I'm going to take, that boy Chaim is going to take my spot as the leader of the generation. And we see that Rav Yosef Karo was the head of all halakha, and Rav Chaim Vital is the head of all Kabbalah. And he says something over here amazing. When I read this the first time, many years ago, I had such kisufim for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's unbelievable. He says, V'gam li ani. Now he has a special message for Chaim, the 15-year-old boy. Special message from the Magid, from the angel, who's teaching Rav Yosef Karo. Special message. What could that be? Mazhireni. He's warning me, he's telling me, he's teaching me that half of the world is is alive only in the merit of the tefillin that my father writes. Did you just hear what I said? Because Rabbi Yosef Vital wrote tefillin with such kavanah, half of the world is alive because of him. Half. And who's the other half? And the other half of the world is standing and alive and breathing and eating and being sustained because of you. Because of who you're going to be one day. Could you imagine that Rabbi Joseph Karo, the chief rabbi of the world, is going to be the Maran? He was 200 rabbis put their head on him and said, "You're the Maran." Sends a message to a 15-year-old boy in yeshiva and tells him, because of your father's tefillin, half of the world is being sustained. And because of who you're going to be one day, the other half is being sustained.
Family business.
Family zechut. Look at this, what's going on over here. This is also a very big tochecha to the sofrim of our generation, to the people who write mezuzot and tefillin of our generation, because in our generation everything's factory made, so it looks very nice, you know? If you look at a tefillin from 100, 200 years ago, you know what it looks like? First of all, they're all tiny, and it's all handmade, so it's like, it's not nice, it's not exact, you know what I mean? It's all breaking apart, this, that. Tefillin of our generation, it's like beton, you know, beton, it's like cement. You know, it's nice, it's good, it was made well. But the tefillin of 400 years ago, half of the world was standing because of them. The tefillin of our generation, who knows if they're even kosher? It may look nice, but who knows if it's kosher? Who knows if it's kosher? I knew one guy, he also used to learn these kind of stuff, secrets of the Torah. After the people used to leave the shul, he would go to people's tefillin, just in case his tefillin was not kosher, and he used to wrap up other people's tefillin. Just in case one of these guys is kosher and mine is not kosher. So obsessed with the mitzvah of tefillin. There's scary stories about tefillin, guys. Because, you know, before you write tefillin, you have to say that I'm doing this lishma. You know what lishma means? For the sake of writing tefillin. L'shem kiddushat tefillin. There was one rabbi, he was in Bnei Brak, he used to write tefillin for like half of Israel. He was writing, he was the sofer. He was already like 70, 75. And one time, one sofer, betumo, you know what betumo is? Like, innocently tells him, Rebbe, you write so many tefillin, how do you, like, do you always say, when do you say? You always say L'Shem Kiddushat tefillin, you just say it one time. He tells him, what? He says, when do you say L'Shem Kiddushat tefillin? Do you say it before? Do you say it once a day? How many times do you say it? You write so many tefillin for everybody. He said, you have to say L'Shem Kiddushat tefillin before you write it? Back then in Bnei Brak, it was a huge thing. He had to go to all the people he sold tefillin to, give them their money back. And people were wearing tefillin for years. With not even, the tefillin could look the most beautiful tefillin, the tefillin is not kosher. Mezuzot like that. His ktav was beautiful, but he didn't know a simple halacha. You have to say L'Shem Kiddushat. It's making you worry now, huh? L'Shem Kiddushat tefillin. What can you do? That's why you have to buy your stuff from a person you trust. Who knows who you could trust today, but that's the reality. And half of the world was standing b'schut. That's why he had the schut of having what kind of boy? Which the other half of the world was being sustained because of him.
Jeez. And
later on, we're going to see, B'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, I'm just going to read you another thing over here. The year is Shin Yud Daled, 5,314. How old is he right now? He's 11. 11 years old boy. Haiti ben Yud Bet Shana. I'm sorry, he was 12 over here. He must have had an early birthday. He was 12, or Chaim Vital, so 12-year-old, what does a 12-year-old think about? Cartoon, let's get it. 11-year-old boy, what is he thinking, 11-year-old boy? Sports, this, that. V'chacham gadol, and a very big chacham in Tzfat. B'sirtutei kafayad, he was a palm reader. Reading the palms of people's hands. He beat b'sirtutei kapot yadai. He asked to look at both of my hands. From here we learned that how do you tell if a person is a true palm reader? He has to read both hands. He can't just read one hand. You see, from here, how did he read? He didn't just read one. He read both. Kapot yadai. V'amarli, and he told me, Da, you should know. Ki biyotcha ben kat shana, when I see in the palm of your hand, when you're going to be 24 years old. When you're going to be 24 years old.
Step on it.
Want to listen to Torah? What can you do? When you're going to be 24 years old, Yavo hirhurim rabim, you're going to have a lot of bad thoughts in your mind. Lidbatel me'esek haTorah, to stop learning Torah. When you're going to be 24 years old. Ve'al korchacha, and your destiny says that for 2.5 years you're going to stop learning Torah. The man who's going to be the future Mashiach, he's going to stop learning Torah for 2.5 years. The man who's supposed to be Mashiach. And then there's going to be 2 ways open to you. All this he tells from reading his palm of his hand. To 11-year-old boy, you're going to have 2 ways open to you. One to Gan Eden and one to Gehenom. And the chance is going to be to you. If you're going to choose the path of Gehenom, you're going to be the biggest Rasha that the world has ever seen. Tells the 11-year-old boy, if you're going to choose when you're going to be 24 years old, the path of Gehenom, you're going to be the biggest Rasha the world has ever seen. But if you're going to choose the path of Gan Eden, you're going to be the greatest leader of the generation. And Rav Chaim Vital writes this, he's saying, and everything he said came to be true. So we see that there's truth in all this palm reading and stuff like that. There's a person who could read it. I once heard a story, Rabbi Joseph used to say the story, when he was running away from Egypt. And Egyptians, every Jew was a spy because of the whole war. We're in the 70th year, so we might well say Independence Day story. So when Rabbi Yosef was running away from Egypt, there was another guy with him, religious guy, and the Egyptians said, "You're a spy." They blamed him for espionage. And the guy, he happened to have learned the secrets of the palm reading. And he said to him, if I'm gonna tell you what you did last night, you're gonna let me go? And the Egyptian the security guy was like, there's no such a kind of thing. You can't tell me what I did last night. He says, give me your palm. If I tell you what you did, you're gonna let me go? He said, I'm gonna let you go. He looked at his hand and he says, yesterday you fought with your wife because she found out that you have a mistress. The guy was on the floor and he let him go. He said, such a smart guy, we can't keep in jail. The world still needs people like you. Very interesting that Rav Chaim Vital wanted to learn the secret of palm reading, and Rav Dari didn't let him do it. He said, I don't allow you to learn that. Dari himself knew how to do it, but he didn't allow Rav Chaim Vital to learn it. He says this is for people who don't have a lot of emunah. Like what are palm readers, people who whisper in the oil and stuff like that. You don't need such kind of thing. You learn what I tell you to learn. Tarot cards. Yes, okay. So let's read one more over here. And I want to, this is a very important one because this is going to be the one that proves that Rav Chaim Vital was supposed to be Mashiach. Shnat Shin Chav Hei. The year's 5325. Minus 3 from that. How old was he over here? 23. 22, 23. In Tzfat, there was a man that lived. His name was Rabbi Lapidot Ashkenazi. That was his name, Rabbi Lapidot Ashkenazi. Ve'ya yodea atidot amitiyot. He was able to predict the future. Able to predict the future. Rav Chaim Vital was writing this. It's not some Baba writing this. This is the father of all Kabbalah. He's saying there was a guy who was able to predict the future. And how would he do that? How was he able to predict the future? He would bring down the souls of people who are alive and who are dead. He could go as far as the time of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And he would ask them any question and they would answer him. This is a guy living in Tzfat.
You wake up Abraham Avinu. It's
from
crazy.
the time of Abraham Avinu.
Oh, from the time.
From the time, not Abraham. Yeah, I don't think he would bring down Abraham. V'yom echad halachti lebeto. He was a very, very curious man. As you can see, Rav Chaim Vital. People will raise hands, shemen, this. So he goes to this Rabbi Lapidot Ashkenazi's house, and he wanted to ask him a question, and he didn't give him kavod, you know? He didn't give him any honor. He acted to him like he's some, he's a 23-year-old kid. This is a guy who tells the future. Why should he give him kavod? You know what I'm saying? Leon Machorat, the next day I came back to his house, and when he saw me, Techef Kamil Fanan, he suddenly got up, gave me kavod, he put me to sit right next to him, Ve'amarli, and he told me, Mecholli, forgive me. Al asher lo nahagti b'cha kavod, because I didn't give you honor yesterday. Because I didn't know the power of your neshama. I didn't know the worth of your neshama yesterday. And in the night, I dreamt, and they told me that I should be very careful and give you kavod when you come back to me tomorrow. Because if you don't give me kavod, if you don't give him kavod, you're going to be punished. This is a very big tzaddik. We see also, I forgot to tell you guys, this is also one of the things I wanted to teach you guys. Rabbi Joseph Vital was the neshama of Meir Balanes, who was a big tzaddik, right? How come he never became great? Okay, half of the world stood because of his tefillin, but he never actually became anybody, right? He didn't become a chief, a rabbi, he didn't write any books. So the Ari told Rav Chaim Vital, you know why your father never became anybody? Because in the past reincarnation, Shama bizayon chacham echad, he heard how somebody was making fun of another Talmid Chacham, another rabbi, velo michabo, and he didn't tell him anything. He didn't tell him to stop. And because of this sin, when he came back, Hashem closed his mind of chokhmah. It's a very big deal when a person hears somebody else saying Lashon Hara, or Rechilud, or Moti Shemra, and a Talmid Chacham. Doesn't necessarily have to be a rabbi. Anybody who learns Torah is a Talmid Chacham, and you don't stop him from doing that, it could have very big repercussions in your neshama. It could cause you to close your chokhmah. That's what happened to the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva. So much they were going down on each other, so Hashem closed it totally. And the Yamei Omer, all 24,000 died. It's a very big thing to give kavod to a Talmid Chacham, not to put Talmid Chacham down.
Who are you to stand up for him?
Huh?
Who are you to stand up for him?
For who?
If you're a rabbi yourself, you have to stand up?
You see, Rabbi Lapidot Ashkenazi, he had to give kavod to who? To a 23-year-old boy. He didn't know who he was, but in Shamayim, they were moche for his kavod. I want to finish this part, we're going to call it a night. And he says over here that they told me to give you advice. What was the advice? That you should stop thinking about materialistic things. Stop thinking about parnasa, stop thinking about getting married. All these things are going to come to you, don't worry. In Shamayim, they're going to take care of you. And every thought that you should have should only be how to uplift your neshama, how to be closer to Hashem. Because your soul, einam nefashot hador hazeh, your soul doesn't really belong in this generation. Rak mi nefashot tanaim, you really belong in the time of Rabbi Akiva. That's when you were supposed to be born. We had a rabbi like this 100 years ago. His name was the Ben Ish Chai. Rabbi Yehuda Ptaya writes that the Ben Ish Chai's soul was supposed to be born in time of the Tanaim. But Hashem made us a favor. He decided to keep it a little while back, and he threw it 100 years ago. That was when the Ben Ish Chai lived. V'im tirtzeh, and if you want, you could go up to such a level that you could become a Navi. He tells him, you could become a prophet. So therefore, stop thinking of yourself that you're nothing. Al tachshov atzmecha lenefesh shefela. Stop putting yourself down. Don't lower your self-esteem. Ki eincha ela nefesh gevua meod. Your soul is a very high neshama. Ki ken hu ha'emet. Titchazek ba'avodat Hashem. Become close to Hashem. Like it says by Chizkiyahu HaMelech, V'yigbal libo b'darkei Hashem. When a person does mitzvot, you have to have ga'ava inside of you. You have to be Yigbal libo. You have to uplift us. You have to be like you're walking on air, not on water. That was the other guy who walked on water. You have to be walking on air. V'da, and you should know ki en biyadcha shum avon. You came to this world with only one sin. In your last reincarnation, you only sinned one time. Ve'etmol shilshom gam ken ba'al yadcha, v'im titach, he doesn't tell him what was that sin. And he says over here that after 7 years, when he meets the Ari HaKadosh, everything Rabbi Lapidot Ashkenazi told him, his teacher told him again. So everything he said was true. So what do we see from here, Rabotai? Yes, Rav Chaim Vital was a special neshama. But did he think he was special? He didn't think he was special. He thought he was low. He tells him over here, stop thinking of yourself that you're nothing. And you know what kind of averot he did? Later on, we're not going to get into it. When he got married for 2.5 years, he didn't learn Torah. Talk about Bitul Torah. 2.5 years, he didn't open a book. No Torah. Bekoshi used to put on tefillin. Bekoshi.
But it was for Shalom Bayis.
That's exactly the problem. Bekoshi, barely. Barely. No Torah, nothing. And the Ari told him, because you stopped learning Torah for 2.5 years, even though I'm supposed to teach you, but I'm not going to teach you until you do teshuvah. You know what kind of teshuvah he did? What kind of teshuvah he did for not... And such a beautiful musara scale from that. And the Ari meets him finally after so many years, and the Ari kicks him out because he had ga'ava when he came to the Ari, because already by that time he started learning again, and he was the student of the Ramak, Rav Moshe Cordovero. one of the biggest chachamim that when he passed away, they saw a pillar of fire going up from his bed. Only one person in a generation has that. Moshe Cordovero, he's buried right next to the Ari. He was the father of Kabbalah before the Ari. And when he came to the Ari says, I can't teach you because you have Gava. You don't think I'm good enough to teach you because I'm Ashkenazi or Sfaradi. No, I'm kidding. Actually, the Rav Chaim Vital was older than the Ari. He was older than him. And the Ari was his teacher. And the Ari tells him if you do teshuvah eventually tells him if you do teshuvah for doing Bitul Torah for 2.5 years. You know what, a mind like you miss Torah for a day, it's a big deal. You miss Torah for 2.5 years. And he tells him, okay, how do I do teshuvah? So he tells me you have to fast for 40 days. Straight. You have to fast for 40, but not just fast. You're not allowed to sleep on your bed, and all day you have to wear sackcloth. You know what sackcloth is? It's clothing made from goat hair.
Oh, it's a trauma, yeah.
Mishkalim.
You have to wear that for 40 days. You have to go to sleep with it. Fast for 40 days. You have to go to sleep with that sackcloth on the floor, and under your pillow you have to put a rock. You have to have special kavanot when you do that too. For 40 days. And during the teshuvah,
how technically you can fast 40 days? At night you eat, no?
Obviously you ate at night. So what happened? You know what? And I wouldn't be a surprise for me if back then they were able to fast for 40 days straight.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a surprise for me. It wouldn't be a surprise for me. Okay, but for people like you who ask how can they do it, so I tell them they ate at night. Okay?
Drink.
So Rav Chaim Vital, during these 40 days, he was at home praying to Hashem, doing teshuvah. His gava went down, and he told Hashem personally while he was doing teshuvah, he started blaming Hashem for closing the way of teshuvah for him. He said, Hashem, why are you stopping me from doing teshuvah? Open it up for me. Like he was talking to Hashem like a friend. The next day he comes to the Ari. It's one of my favorite stories. It's a short story, but one of my favorites. And the Ari told him, last night you talked to Hashem with a lot of chutzpah. Who do you think put in your mind to cry and do teshuvah if it wasn't for him? Next time, don't talk to Hashem like that. Talk with a little bit more respect, because He's the one who's giving you the power to do teshuvah. So we see in Shamayim, every word you say, everything you do, it mamash all comes from Hashem. It gives you a lot of chizuk. Because you think you go home right now, okay, you just listen to some Yirat Shamayim, some Torah, okay, you listen to a couple of stories here and there, okay, that's it, I go home, it's done. I pray Arabit, say Sfrat Omer, and that's vidani. No. Every step you take, every thought comes from Hashem. Hashem is watching you every single second. He's with you all the time, and He knows what you're doing, and He knows your hardships, and He's there with you. He's there to help you, and He's putting you in these tests. Like the guy read of Chaim Vital's hands, when you're 24 years old, you're going to have the test. Where's the free will? The free will, he told him, you're going to have two paths, one to Gehenom and one to Gan Eden. If you choose Gehenom, you're going to be the biggest Rasha that ever was. You're going to be more than, I don't know, those Rishaim out there. Putin, he's a big Rasha. His Syrian friends. But if you're going to be a tzaddik, you're going to be the biggest tzaddik that ever lived. And Hashem is with us every second of the way. It's something to teach our kids. You got to put this in your kids' mind, that Hashem is with us all the time. He's there when you're eating. He's there when you're drinking. He's there when... The Torah says, the Gemara, Hashem is going to tell you in the future what you spoke to your wife on the night of the mikvah. He's going to tell you what you spoke, and He's going to tell you what you thought. Because He's there all the time. That's why the Gemara says people who perform their conjugal relations without a blanket on top. It's the summer. The Gemara says the tarbut ra'ah. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. So the Gemara says why? The Gemara doesn't answer. But the Zohar answers. He says, who do you think is in the room with you?
Respect.
Hashem is inside the room with you. Did you know that? You have to show a little respect to Hashem. You have to cover yourself. Hashem is there with you. You have to show a little bit of respect. Hashem is with you. Hashem puts inside your mind the thought when to wake up in the morning. He puts inside your head when to put on tefillin. He gives you your chayut. So he tells Rav Chaim Vital, don't talk to Hashem with chutzpah. Don't. Because He's there and He's helping you. Have hakarat tov. Show a little respect to Hashem. May Hashem help us in all of our ways. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.